Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. It's Melanie Johnson here. We hope you're having a fantastic day today. Listen, I'm with Jen Foster, my co-owner of Elite Online Publishing and co-host for our podcast. Hey Jen.
Hey everyone, how's it going today?
It's fantastic. We always have a great podcast day. So, in the universe today, no matter what age you are, whether you're just out of college, you might even be out of high school, or you're in transition, or maybe you just got let go from a job, or maybe you decided you wanted to do something different. Getting a job is dicey today. It's not that easy. It's not the old world kind of. I mean, it still comes down to maybe who you know that can get your foot in the door, but the whole resume thing, how do you show up? How do you get the interview? How do you show up for the interview? How do you not feel crushed when you don't get hired or you feel like you just sucked at the interview? Well, we have an expert here today. We have Lori Wallace with us today, and she founded Career Ecology. And let me tell you, she has some real insight into this for you to get that job. So, Lori, welcome. Thanks for coming today.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to kick off the year with you guys. Thank you for your energy and for caring about all your listeners and giving them all these great tips. Empowerment. Woo!
Awesome. Well, tell us, Lori, a little bit about yourself and how you got into job seeking.
Yeah, this is my life's work. And I think, we all, we hope that we can do work in the world that touches meaning in our lives. Viktor Frankl is an amazing psychologist who talked a lot about that and said that, it really ultimately isn't power or money or fame. It's really having a sense of meaning. And for me, I discovered that the meaning in my life was to help empower others so that they could live a life of success infused with well being around September 11th. It was a time that I was pregnant, 8 months, Twin Towers fell. I nearly birthed my child in the moment, ended up getting laid off. A whole bunch of things happened with my health. And I woke up at the age of 36 and I told my husband, I want to practice radical kindness in the world. And
Uh-huh.
so I ended up getting recruited by my recruiter to be a recruiter. Okay. So that's a triple whammy right there. But what I found was that it's being practiced as a sales gig, right? As you might expect, sales, recruiting organizations are making their bottom line and so forth. I wanted to do it differently. So I quit and started my own agency in 2005 to transform headhunting into human connection. That's how it all began. And it's been 20 years of listening to the trauma, the hope, the triumphs, and everything in between, and realizing what a central place this is for human beings coming into their own and finding their way and feeling safe and hopefully just joyful and exuberant in what they do. And that's where career ecology ultimately came in, because with 2016 and the move towards COVID and culture crisis and climate crisis, it was more important than ever that people understood what was their own access to power and authentic relating as they looked for new jobs, as they found themselves maybe in between jobs or maybe laid off outside of their control. So, what could I do? And the ultimate act of kindness is to take down the curtain and share a whole bunch of expertise for empowerment in this area.
A job, finding a job, whether it's your first job, is scary because you don't know where you're going to land and exactly maybe even what you want to do out of college. And the new job is, where am I going to fit? What am I going to do? It's almost like, I want to say it's like going through a divorce in a way, or going through a death if you've got let go from a job or you're transitioning or something happened with the company. It can be very emotional. And is it about you? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? How do I have the confidence to move on? And
Yeah.
one of the things I noticed, so there was a period where I was kind of before publishing, I was in between things, and I'm like, okay, let me go apply for jobs. Like I
Yeah.
put this resume together and I went on LinkedIn and started sending things out, and it was a black hole.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, I don't think I got a response. I don't, matter of fact, I didn't get a response from anybody. And I
Yeah.
had pretty good credentials, but it was just a black hole. So, how do you fight the black hole?
So glad you went right there. There's ghosting that happens. You know, we all feel bad when anyone, maybe they have too many texts or something and we don't hear back from somebody we want to hear back from.
Yeah.
And it turns into a psychological hurt
Mhm.
because at a primal sense, the idea of being ignored by other people means that we've been kicked out of the cave and we can be eaten that night by something with big teeth. The modern world has progressed at a much faster rate than our nervous systems. So
Mm-hmm.
that black hole you're talking about is something that scares everyone. And let me tell you, I work with people right out of college all the way up to CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take much for somebody to feel that they're not good enough. So, the central tenet really of how to live in a world where the black hole exists and where there's so much distraction and people may not even mean to ignore you, but it happens, is to learn to collaborate with chance. So, there's a wonderful quote by Rebecca Solnit, who's a philosopher and author, and I love her. And she says, maybe the whole purpose of being a human on this planet is to learn how to keep our balance amid surprises. So we know really what can happen to a human when they feel they have to grasp and control everything. That's
Yeah.
probably the center of a great deal of misery. That's why even Buddhism is out here talking about impermanence. How can we live in a wild system where we collaborate with that unknown, where we collaborate with crisis
Mm-hmm.
and change and understand that's part of the natural system? So when I'm training people, there's this thing I called the dynamic search method. And
Mm-hmm.
I say, all right, we are going to move outside of the linear choice. You say that you're looking for a job as X. Well, we are going to come up with a threefold path. We're going to have X because that's where you feel that you mostly qualify and would be interested. What's the next one that's slightly divergent? And then what's the real out of the box one? We are
Mm-hmm.
going to establish a rhythm where you are looking at all three at once because you don't know where the match is. Where is that highest good? Where is that collaboration? Because it's 50% your need, but it's 50% everybody else's needs.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot in coming forward in this way of saying my strategic partner is chance and everything I don't understand. It's total mindset shift.
I like that you put mindset into it because I know even just like, some of my college students looking for careers, like it's hard for them and they think they're like everyone's out to get them and there's not a job for them. But then you look around and it says everyone's hiring. So it's really like it's that black hole. So
Yeah.
having that mindset, like you're just talking about, really, I think makes a shift. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if they don't have that mindset and they're just thinking, black hole, then that's just what they're going to get back.
And they're going to end up even cutting off their own power of attraction. When you get sucked into that black hole and you start to listen to the ego messages that no one loves you, you're not good enough, or you're too young, too old, too this, too that, then suddenly now that vibrational energy, even in an interview or in between interviews, starts to shut down. So anybody that works with me has homework. And the first thing that they have to do is watch this movie called The Biggest Little Farm. Have you ever heard of this movie? Either one of you?
No.
No.
So it's a true story about a couple here in California who are in Moore Park. And they decided to start a farm and they decided not to monocrop. You know how monocropping is like, we're just going to go almonds and we're going to go ahead
Yeah.
and, own that market. They started a biodynamic farm. And that's something that Rudolf Steiner started, 50, 60, 70 years ago, whatever it was. And it's the idea of humans collaborating with the wild. How can we learn from the brilliance of 4.5 billion years of successful evolution? What does it mean to actually lean into diversity and cooperation? So, through this movie, you see how this couple came in and thought that they could go ahead and plant seeds and have their crops and they could pretty much control and manage and get some yields.
Yeah.
But what they needed to do was to collaborate with all these different beings and animals and cover crops and all these things so that actually the ecosystem would take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Humans can come far over the line to over control and actually miss out on the gifts of chance. I mentioned to you earlier that I got really ill and very overwhelmed with September 11th. That crisis, that sort of moment of biodynamic surprise is the reason why I'm here with you today. That crisis in my moment in my life is one of the most important positive moments of my life. And so I teach people a great deal about the usefulness of crisis. And you'll see that through that movie, how they learned how to live in collaboration with a highly dynamic world. And that's what we're all in together right now.
Yeah, you're right. We are in that all together. And
Mm-hmm.
another piece of the whole job thing is the resume, the dreaded resume.
Mm.
How do you
Uh,
make it stand out? And I mean, everything's more digital today, video, all these different things you can put into a resume. Remember in Legally Blonde, remember she was applying for school and she sent the video resume and she was in her bikini and all the guys' eyes were like, oh my gosh. So I know you talk about the Feng Shui resume. So I don't know how Feng Shui her resume was, but I thought that was a cute story to tie into this.
I loved that movie. I know. I still can practically remember the dance that she does, and all that. Yes. Oh my gosh. First of all, it's hilarious because people, they laugh at me when I say to them, I love reading resumes. To me, it's like this novel that I can curl up with. I'm probably one of the few people that just dives into them and I love them and I always have. I recognize them as sacred text. I mean, they really are. Here I am. And I'm sending this document out into this world, into this ether space. I have no idea who will receive it and how they will receive it. So there's a great deal put into it. And what I've come to realize in 20 years and I don't know, thousands of resumes is that they really traditionally are an artifact of the industrial age. It was really designed in a very linear fashion. You're probably noticing a trend right now in my discussion to get out of the linear mindset and into a dynamic mindset. So the linear resume forces somebody to read in a line down who you are. And so that puts a great deal of responsibility on the hiring manager or on the recruiter to try to make some sort of integrated, collaborative sense of this story. So I literally have to get out a pencil and I have to write down how many months are this. I may be drawing lines. I have to open up browsers to get more information because it's not complete enough. Now there's a great deal of burden. And I, the reader, am now making my own mind up to what I'm seeing. Like I'm actually even potentially bringing bias in to try to create the story. So what I realized about 6 or 7 years ago, I did a CEO search. And it was fascinating when I brought about 9 different candidates forward to the board of directors. They looked at these phenomenal individuals. You can imagine as a CEO level candidate, what they had done in their life. Many of them had JDs, they had done incredible things in healthcare. And what I found is that the hiring committee had a difficult time discerning one person from another because of these linear resumes. So I pulled back and I created a design, which I do call a working title these days is Feng Shui resume, but a lot of people are like, Feng what? I'm not sure. So, I call it now the responsive resume because it's responsive to the truth of the story. It responds to the other person's need to know you. And it includes an executive summary page that has this feng shui aspect of, I got what I need over here for a summary of who you are. I see a path thing, so I don't have to actually count months and years now. Now I see some credibility too about where you've actually been, names of organizations, first person summary paragraph, and you're bringing in now your desires. There's this whole top page where somebody in this spherical way, they get you. And then they go to the back pages, as many as you need now for data. So there is no longer this linear trap. So the resume is the most absolutely important first place of authentic relating. And it requires a great deal of personal time and care and pride. So it's where we always start, always.
What do you do? I mean, for young kids like Jen's college kids, I have college kids, if they don't, and some of them, I know some of my son's friends, like they had COVID and they came out of college with no experience.
Oh, yes.
So,
My son too.
so what do? You don't have much to put on your resume. So how do you make a resume where you don't have a lot of meaningful experience or maybe no experience to get that job?
Yeah, that's a tough one. My son's 22 and he's a senior in college. So he missed his senior year in high school because of COVID, missed his freshman year. He's coming through that as well. The jobs that he has on his resume are, working at the Y right now, and just these, and he hasn't really been able to find the internship, even though things are opening up. But no matter what, COVID or not, there's still always just this sense of like the new person. What my work is, I'm a receptionist, or I work at a grocery store. How do I leverage that? So I have examples that people who come through the Career Ecology Masterclass, they can see examples of various students. And the key there is to share that you have been doing work, or if you couldn't even get in and do just like the receptionist job or the Y job, that
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, though, you've gotten some guidance that there's an opportunity for you to go to events, for you to volunteer, for you to
Mm-hmm.
even just care to take an extra course because of XYZ. Maybe you even decided to join the swing dancing club because you understood that social engagement is important for any sort of community. So there's this taking your story down all the levels to meaning again.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it that you did and why? And what did you garner out of that?
Mm-hmm.
So, when people come through Career Ecology, we have live office hours, and these kind of questions come up, or a mother who's been out of work for 10 years, and there's all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
sense. And so, that's the beauty of this is you get to realize my life is my curriculum. It's like everything that's happened is a ring around the trunk of me, in a sense.
Mhm.
And each experience lends towards the strength and the value that I bring. And so we get to go ahead and reflect back and pull out the nuggets. And
Mm-hmm.
even the person in college or coming out of high school, not going to college, there
Mm-hmm.
could even be something that I'm the oldest sibling and I made dinner every day for my younger siblings. There's
Ah,
so much meaning that we
Yeah,
can draw up
I
and out.
love
And it
that
means a
you
lot
do
to people.
yeah, well, and the executive summary sounds really similar to when we help authors write their author bios with our publishing company because a lot of people think their author bio should start with, where they were born and, how long they've worked in their career. But no, that's not what we want to start with, right? So I like how
right.
your executive summary, though, paints the picture and tells the story without that linear, like you were saying, like, you could say, oh, I make dinner, but that's different. Or I know how I have a, food handler's permit or something, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean the same as what you were just describing,
Yeah.
or the skills that if someone does D&D, right, Dungeons and Dragons, they play the game every week or whatever. So you could dissect that and be like, okay, what are all the skills that happen when you go there, right? Besides,
Yes.
the credibility, responsibility, the leadership, or whatever role they are in their game. So there's so many different things you can pull
So
out of the
true.
things you do in your life.
100%. I love that you put it that way because, in that executive summary sheet, there's that left column where somebody says, I need you to know what's special about me, what I've gained, who I am. In the linear format, there's no room for that. So,
Yeah.
what you're saying with your bio is we say, this is our story. Here you are, Elite Publishing. So it's like we have stories to tell. It's our job to shape that
Mm-hmm.
for you. It's our job to spark your imagination. And
Mhm.
so, interestingly, when people come through me, this is another interesting thing about resumes is that they have to do their own and they are asynchronously, whatever. Okay.
We
That
understand what
word.
you're saying. Yeah.
In an async way,
Yeah.
they are guided and then they come into the live trainings and things, but I am really taking them beyond their egos down into this place of first coming back into relationship with just what they've done and then raising it up into some sort of beautiful story. And so they have to do it themselves. I had one gentleman who just finished, it took him 4 months. That's a lot longer than many,
Yeah.
but he admitted, he said it was the hardest thing he'd ever done because I turned the reflection and the gaze back, and he had to have a conversation with himself and to be patient with that. He had to work on it and let it sit. You know how sometimes the
Yeah.
greatest editor is the drawer, you
Mhm.
know, leave it aside and then come back in a week and you go, oh, that's okay. Let me go add and let me shift, let me change. So it took him that much time to come back into relationship with himself. There is an enormous barrier. And that's why most people outsource their resume. And that's somebody else with their limited understanding of you or whatever type of resumes they generally write. Now they have captured and controlled your story. It's not coming from your working soul. So I do bring people through. It's resume yoga.
Yeah. It really is. All right. So let's say I'm looking for a job. Give me LinkedIn tips. What should I be doing? Are there any ninja tips for LinkedIn?
Oh, definitely. So, I pay something like $8,000 a year to have the back end recruiter aspect of that. So, because, as a recruiter, I am looking, because my other part of my work too is day to day with my clients, healthcare clients. And so I am looking for people through LinkedIn and this back dashboard. We will do a search and, I can get 1,200 people come up with that particular search. And as a recruiter, we're very overwhelmed and very busy. So we're looking on down and just kind of initially seeing, without having to click anything, if possible, who we want to move over to the project. So the number one thing I want to say, there's so much about LinkedIn to optimize, but number one is that subtitle that's below your name. make sure that for whoever might be looking for you, they could be looking in this sort of mass way, as recruiters do in these sort of search dynamics, is that they have what they need to see. So, I work with healthcare. So if I'm looking for a director of inpatient pharmacy, and maybe I want to know as well that they work within a nonprofit healthcare system and something like that, then I will be very gratified to see that inpatient pharmacy director, comma, nonprofit healthcare system. And maybe even there, they'll say 20 plus years or something. I get a lot of what I need right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
That is the number one most important thing. And really also just love your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that it is complete and professional without typos, that has that first person summary paragraph, has all your jobs in there. Because we recruiters also, like just yesterday, I was looking at a profile of somebody I'm very interested in, but I was concerned because I noticed that they only had about 15 connects and that their profile was very sparse. So I
Mm-hmm.
got a feeling, right or wrong, that this person wasn't engaging with the outer world or the community, or maybe would not even be interested in my reaching out to them. That's
Mm-hmm.
the impression I got by that. So it's really valuable these days to contribute to your LinkedIn, to, go through your feed and give people some thumbs ups and some congratulations and fill it out so you can be found. We come back to chance again. Let yourself be found. Don't we all want to be found by someone who says, "Oh my gosh, look at you. I found you. Can I talk with you? I have a collaboration moment. I want to potentially hire you." Oh,
Right.
that's good.
Now, how important is it for the profile photo? Like, I know a lot of people
Very.
who, like, especially for branding, will keep the same photo on all platforms, even though it's 10 years old. Should it be up to date, or tell us about the
And
photo?
should you have a different photo on every platform so you're showing different parts of your personality, or is it better
Yeah.
just to have the same photo everywhere?
Hmm. Great questions. First of all, this is going to surprise everyone. No photo on your resume. Let me just say that. You do not need to tick up any bias. We just don't know who's on the other end. So there's no reason to give that forward. I like beards. I don't like beards. You look old. You look young. I mean, just no.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep that out because whatever we can do to eliminate barriers to connection. And photos just naturally do that on resumes, not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of LinkedIn. So people might look you up and they'll find it. So a professional photo there with, more of a plain background, generally not a photo of you holding a fish that you just fished, things like this, because LinkedIn is the professional place. So, Facebook, you can have the one with a fish, Instagram, you can have, something else that's just really, more personal because your Instagram is probably just more social. I love seeing different pictures because that shows me too that this is alive. So I can see different pictures at different places. But
Mm-hmm.
from a LinkedIn standpoint, there's all sorts of videos that show you how to get in front of a wall, and take a picture, and then you can throw it into Canva and you can actually have a professional background that has it's fuzzed out, or it might be just a dark gray, with some sort of variation in light,
Yeah.
and then put that up there. And please do have it be current, definitely within the last couple years. There is a way to always make sure, depending on where you are in your development, the younger you are, the easier it is to take a photo without lights. But when you're my age, I'm 58 now, the lights are really important for me right now. Otherwise, there
Yeah.
is a certain
Yeah.
tendency, towards some other sort of aspect. So that's just the gift. Put a light on there and let people see the light of your smile and your eyes. Have it be a beautiful current photo. Every couple years, get a photo done. Won't
Very
change. My
important.
hair's going gray. I mean, it's just in a year, I'm going to have a different photo. It's going to be fabulous. I'm very silver.
Ooh,
We'll
that's a
see.
whole nother conversation.
Yes, it
Or
is.
not to go gray. That's the question. Yeah. Well, I learned a bunch. Tell us where we can find you at, Lori.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, come on over anytime to Career Ecology, which is just those two words, careerecology.com. And I'm actually going to be giving you guys a specific page that you can put in your notes, in your show notes, where visitors can come and get 10% off on any of these services if they want to be empowered finally. So I'll get that to you for the show notes. So drop on in. But otherwise, you can just, careerecology.com. Come on by.
Perfect. We'll put that up in the show notes as well as on our YouTube description.
Awesome. That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Fabulous. So if you're looking for a job, you know where to go to get that Feng Shui resume. Thanks for coming, everybody. And we're going to remind you, if you're looking to write a book and become a best-selling author, join us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We're looking for authors that are inspirational, motivational, or educational, and we help take their business to the next level. Check us out. We'll see you later. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.